Welcome back. I'm reading my memoir, Rebirth, chapter by chapter, and I'm reading chapter 31. So if you just stumbled upon this video, go back to the beginning, start from the beginning so that you are listening to the story in sequence and it makes a lot of sense because right now there's a lot of stuff happening. You can feel the labor happening. The contractions are getting intense. We're in the final stretch. So I strongly recommend if you just joined and you don't know what I'm reading to go back to the beginning, or you can listen here if you want to. Do what you'd like. Subscribe, like, and share. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm reading chapter 31 and it's entitled Father Mario. The first time Evelyn soiled a diaper, I was astonished at the brightness of the orange liquid against the soft white cloth. It almost glowed. Its intensity was so unnatural. I stared at it, fascinated, until reality hit. No matter how much I scrubbed, the stain clung to the fibers, refusing to lift. My heart sank. I had imagined cloth diapering as a return to something simpler, purer, more connected. It was a way of embracing the past. I delighted in the purity of cotton and the cloth's pure whiteness. But now it was soiled forever, and I knew the rest would follow one by one. Disheartened, I hung the annoyance on the clothesline, surrendering it to the wind and sun, and went about my day. Hours later, I returned and stopped in my tracks. My mind raced to make sense of what my eyes were seeing. The diaper was as white as snow. Confusion set in. Had I forgotten which one was stained? I pulled it off the line and inspected it closely. The orange splotch was gone as if it had never been. I called Mato outside, waving the diaper like a flag of victory. "You're not going to believe this," I said, my heart pounding with excitement. We rushed inside to research this tiny miracle. It turns out that stool stains from breastfed babies disappear entirely in the sun. I was elated. The universe had designed a perfect system. And then it hit me. Our ancestors knew this mystery. Before washing machines, before modern detergents, before disposable diapers, they had trusted the sun to whiten their clothes. How had we forgotten? I tilted my face upward, feeling the warmth on my skin, and in that moment, I felt God holding me tightly. And for the first time, I understood sun worship. I closed my eyes and felt enveloped by the stars. I imagined the moon, a symbol of fertility, love, and life, as Jesus. It was a missing link in the puzzle. How much do we lose in our pursuit of progress, in our desperate search for advancement, innovation, and control? How often do we overlook the answers already written into the world around us? I ran my fingers over the soft white cotton, now fully restored, renewed, another rebirth. Maybe the smallest miracles are the ones that remind us of the biggest truths. "I'm really concerned about the voices you're hearing," Mauro said the following Sunday. His tone was gentle, but beneath it was an edge, hinting at something unspoken. I nodded, my breath steady. I could see the toil this was taking on him. "Okay, how about we talk to someone we both trust," I offered. "What about your mother?" His lips pressed into a thin line. "No, not my mother," he hesitated. The silence between us, taut and uneasy. Then, "How about Father Mario?" His suggestion surprised me. A priest? I'd expected a doctor or a therapist, someone clinical, not spiritual. My agreement was emphatic. Yes, if Mauro was willing to talk, I wanted to seize the opportunity. Father Mario had been the priest at our local church, but he had moved to a new parish some time back. Mauro made a few calls to locate him and secured an appointment. He was now stationed just north of the city. We agreed to visit him before going back to the hospital. The drive was just under an hour. The road unwinding beneath a beautiful blue sky full of new possibilities. I watched Evelyn sleep, snuggled in her car seat beside me. When we arrived, we were warmly greeted and escorted into his office, a modest room with 2 chairs near the door and a simple desk at its center. He sat behind it, his posture open, his expression kind. We sat in the guest chairs. "What brings you here?" he asked. I glanced at Mauro, waiting for him to speak. I wanted him to say whatever was on his mind, but as he started, Father Mario gently interrupted. Let her talk. Let's listen to what she has to say. Mauro shifted in his seat. This wasn't what he wanted to hear. He'd come seeking validation, hoping someone would help guide me back to normal. Father Mario's words flowed with a quiet authority. God grants new mothers a heightened awareness. They are caring for his children, and he sharpens their instincts. His voice was soft, but his words resonated through me. I felt validated. He described with precision exactly what I felt. I soaked in all his words. Did he know to what extent they were true? Did this happen to all new mothers? Maybe he had insights about the experience I was having. Mauro leaned forward in his chair, and tension rose in my throat, making it difficult to swallow. He was not usually satisfied with simply trusting advice. How long should this last? He asked, his voice hesitant and strained, inching toward thin ice. Father Mario was now standing, beaming down at us. 3 months. The lightness in his expression was soothing, a gentle push opening the walls that had been closing in around me. My breath came easier. I leaned forward, my voice steady but urgent. I'm not asking him to agree with me, I said, laying my hand on Mauro's arm. I just want him to consider my perspective as a possibility and not dismiss everything I say as if I'm jumping to conclusions. He's too quick to tell me we should check with a professional before making assumptions. She's overprotective of a baby, Mauro interrupted, his voice more direct. Father Mario stepped closer, his eyes kind but firm. That's exactly what a mother is supposed to be. In the wild, a mama bear will kill anything or anyone that threatens her cubs, even Papa Bear. It is a normal motherly instinct to protect the baby. I exhaled, releasing pressure I hadn't realized I was holding. Father Mario wasn't dismissing who I was. He was validating the strength and ferocity of a mother's love and protective instincts. Then he asked to hold Evelyn. I hesitated, but passed her over. His face brightened, his joy palpable as he cradled her in his arms. His black robe was a stark contrast to the soft pink and purple of Evelyn's blanket. I watched as he rocked her gently, closing his eyes and swaying as if to a melody only he could hear. If you believe there is something wrong, then there is something wrong, he said, opening his eyes and looking up towards me. My shoulders relaxed, and the tightness in my chest eased. His certainty felt like an anchor, pulling me back to solid ground. I told him about the hospital, our plan to return there today. His demeanor shifted slightly, his expression sharpening with purpose. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The hospital must take care of you. You gave birth there. It's their responsibility. Evelyn started fussing, and I automatically stood up to pick her up. He held up a finger, looked down at Evelyn, then closed his eyes and started to rock her gently, as though he was waltzing to the sound of her whimpers. Reassured, I sat down again. But if I'm the squeaky wheel, I just look crazy, I said, my voice thin and wavering. Father Mario turned to Mauro. It's up to you to squeak on her behalf. Mauro's face softened, and he gave a small nod. I felt a shift, a tiny crack in the wall between us. A smile slowly formed on my lips as a wave of empowerment washed through me, a feeling of trust in myself and my intuition. As the meeting concluded, Father Mario turned to me and asked, "Is there anything you'd like to do right now?" The question caught me off guard. I smiled, leaned forward in my chair, and blurted out, "I'd like Evelyn to be baptized." Before she was born, I wanted baptism to be her choice when she was old enough to choose it for herself. I now understood baptism offered her protection until then. He nodded, his expression serious. "We can do that right now." "Really?" I said, beaming. "Yes." His voice was authoritative. I wasn't entirely serious. I know there are logistics, godparents, and classes. It's just what came to mind. We don't have to do it now. "Trust your first instinct," he said. "Your first instinct is inspired. Anything after that is you talking yourself out of it. We're going with your first instinct." He stood up and left the room, his robes rustling softly. I sat back in my chair in stunned silence, a mix of disbelief and delight. Mauro looked at me, a question in his eyes. I smiled, hoping he saw the light I felt inside. Father Mario came back and handed me a form. What about the godparents? I asked. We can perform the baptism by proxy, and you can take the baptism course later with the real godparents, he said. He stepped back out of the office to get things ready while I filled out the form. We performed the baptism ceremony with the two young women from the office standing in as godparents. I was deeply moved by the proceedings and for the first time understood the meaning behind the words spoken. The Lord truly did work in miraculous ways. Alleluia. My heart overflowed with the sense of presence and support I felt. It was the first time since Evelyn's birth that I didn't need to justify myself or wonder if I was going crazy. After the ceremony, I mentioned that I needed to change Evelyn's diaper and feed her. Father Mario offered us his living room, an offer that deeply honored me, as I had never been in a priest's private quarters before. He escorted us past his office through a door at the end of the hallway, which opened into a living room adorned in burgundy. My heart swelled, the sensation rising to my face, and I struggled to suppress my glee and pure joy. I felt like a child stepping into a dream. Crossing the threshold was like stepping back in time. The furniture was carved from wood as perfect as the day it was made, and covered with pristine velvet cushions and pillows. The walls were adorned with ornate tapestries, characteristics of ancient castles. Large paintings hung in exquisitely detailed golden frames. I felt an immediate sense of peace and love emanating from the room, as though nothing bad had ever happened there, only deep compassion, love, and mercy. I glanced at Mauro, wondering if he also sensed the privilege of being in this private space. Father Mario told us to make ourselves comfortable and use whatever we needed, gave a slight bow, turned, and closed the door behind him. I was astonished I was allowed into the room, let alone left alone to use it. Part of me wanted to linger, but I knew I should be quick and leave with it within a reasonable time. I settled on the couch and laid Evelyn on the large, dark wood coffee table in the center of the living room to change her diaper. Afterwards, I sank back into the rich velvet cushions and nursed Evelyn. It felt majestic, and I wanted to stretch out the time, absorbing the room's grandeur. Evelyn fell asleep, signaling it was time to leave. I felt a pang of regret as I left the room and returned to the ordinary world of the church office hallway. I thanked the girl behind the administration desk, one of our proxies. She explained that Father Mario was in a meeting but had prepared all the baptism papers and information for the godparents. I thanked her again, and we left the church through the front doors, a tinge of disappointment surging up. It would have been wonderful to see Father Mario and thank him in person. Once back in the car, Mauro asked about going to the hospital. After such an enjoyable experience, returning to the hospital seemed like a jarring pivot, but we had to ensure my uterus had contracted, so we agreed to go. Did you notice that Father Mario repeated some statements 3 times? I asked Mauro, my voice vibrant and curious. He shrugged, his expression blank. No, I didn't notice. I nodded, my mind already spinning. That was interesting. The Bible often repeats phrases 3 times. I'd heard it was a technique for emphasis, a kind of ancient bolding, since there were no fonts or formatting to make words stand out. Scholars claim the repetition wasn't literal, just a literary device. But maybe they were wrong. Maybe those words weren't just repeated for emphasis, they were spoken that way. Perhaps the repetition wasn't a stylistic choice, but a natural rhythm, a way to weave truth deeper into the fabric of understanding. We do it all the time, repeating words when we want to drive a point home, when the weight of what we're saying needs an extra anchor. I saw Father Mario do it with Mauro. I watched as the first repetition washed over him. The second started to seep in, and only by the third did his expression change, as though the truth had finally found a crack to slip through. Maybe The sacred is less about grand revelations and more about the gentle, persistent whisper of truth spoken over and over again until the heart finally hears it. Women are given a heightened sense of awareness after the birth of a child because they are in charge of one of God's children, Father Mario had said. And that is the closing of chapter 31 of my memoir, Rebirth. There's only a few chapters left. If you like the story, please like and share. If you know somebody who might like the story, please like and share. Subscribe so you know when the next chapter drops, and leave comments. Let me know that you're here. Send me questions, and I'm going to have a Q&A at the end with all the questions that I receive. So if you have questions, please send them to me and I will answer all the questions sent to me. Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it, and have a beautiful rest